And our last conferee, Cathryn Rivera-Hernandez, welcome. And let me ask if you would like to introduce anyone that's here with you in particular, and then you can go right into your opening statement.
My husband, Ignacio Hernandez, he just left, who some of you may know, but he has a bill up. He had to go. That's commitment. But he was here. And my entire family lives in Arizona, so I don't have anyone here. And my two beautiful children wished me luck as they ran off to camp. So with that being said, and I'm going to keep my remarks brief as asked. I know we have a lot to talk about. But I do want to express that I'm honored to be reappointed to the Agricultural Labor Relations Board and to appear before you today. I'm seeking to continue my work on the board and my commitment to public service. Since my initial appointment, I have been working with my fellow board members to expand outreach to all stakeholders, create efficiencies in the adjudication process, and to establish a body of law that not only fosters certainty for the parties, but also can withstand scrutiny. To this end, outreach efforts by our regional office have doubled in my most recent term. We recently hired a field examiner that speaks an indigenous language. The board also held hearings statewide to hear directly from employers, employees, unions, and community organizations. And I have also visited agricultural operations throughout this state to see firsthand the innovations and the challenges in the industry and to speak to the workers directly in grapes, dates, lettuce, strawberries, dairies, among many others. I have always taken seriously my primary responsibility, and that is to carry out the mission of the ALRA through the fair and impartial interpretation and application of the law. As with any arbiter of legal disputes, the board's decisions are regularly challenged by pretty much all sides of the aisle. It is significant that from the 118 board decisions in which I have participated, 47 involving issues of first impression, there have been 33 appeals, and we have been overturned once. Providing guidance in areas of previously unsettled law is necessary to the mission of the ALRA, and something of which I am proud to be a part of. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much. Senator Monning, I'm going to start with you this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Rivera-Hernandez, for joining us today and for your service to the state of California. You discussed some of your personal outreach efforts and the outreach efforts of the board. Could you provide a little more information about the type of outreach you do both to employers and workers?
Yes. Because the regional staff is out on the front lines and in the fields, they do outreach continuously, and those efforts have really increased with the additional staff approved by the legislature and the governor, and that's always ongoing. Here in Sacramento, I personally have not only gone out into the fields and talked to the workers and employers, but I also regularly meet with the trade associations. I've spoken to the Western Growers Luncheon. I've met with the Fresh Fruit Board of Directors on multiple occasions. So wherever forum we are asked to or invited to go, I've always taken the opportunity to not only inform and educate farm workers, but also answer any questions that the employer community has as well.
Thank you. And with respect to some of that outreach, you mentioned recruitment of an indigenous language staff person. How does the board at the regional level accommodate our multilingual farm worker workforce in the state of California?
So the majority of the workers that we are serving are Spanish speakers, and nearly all of our staff in the regional offices speak Spanish. We have had in the past also another employee that spoke Mixteco, and she was recruited by another labor agency. And so this most recent hire is to have a more permanent presence so that they can relate, because a lot of it is also culturally based. And our employees meet with the indigenous groups in order to build that trust and sort of bridge that gap that occurs with those communities. So out in the regions, that is how we address
Thank you. And you may have heard asked kind of a similar question to the candidate for the workers' comp, director of the workers' comp agency, and the challenge of often lesser educated workforce, immigrant workforce, not English speaking. Do you find that some are not aware of their rights or fear that the exercise of their rights can lead to job loss or deportation?
Yes. We held our statewide hearings. We heard directly from employees that, in fact, that was a very real fear, and that was even previous to some of the more recent federal changes. And that led us to develop other ways to reach out to a lot of the communities, and that's when we created some public service announcements that are both in Spanish as well as in Mixteco, so that we could reach out, because many times they don't have a written language. It would allow us to get out onto the airwaves in order to inform people, and part of that is the information that's contained in that says that, in fact, immigration status is not, in fact, relevant to your rights under the ALRA.
And is it fair to say that in labor management relations and decisions of whether it's the ALRB or the NLRB, there's winners and losers and not everybody's happy with every decision?
I've never issued a decision where everybody was happy. That's correct.
Although you did, I think, recite in your opening statement that of 33 appeals to decisions that you've been involved with, only one has been overturned by an appellate court. Is that accurate?
Correct. In final resolution, that was the one case.
Right. And I know other members of the committee may raise some of this, and we've received some correspondence from a particular employer and group of workers. I don't know to the extent you feel comfortable talking about that case. Are you restrained in what you can talk about in your judicial role as a member of the ALRB?
Yeah, that is correct. I can't engage in the discussion of the merits of that case or any case that is before the board, because that would be ex parte. And we have had many requests for recusals based upon those types of discussions, so I wouldn't be able to engage in that other than procedural. I can talk procedurally about cases.
Right. And so to the extent you are able to speak about a pending case from the Gerwin Farm case, is that still in litigation?
Very much, yes.
And so that would be an example of a case where there are restraints on your ability to talk about substance, content, or decisions that have been made?
That's correct.
And I know we see this not just people in your position on an adjudicatory board like the ALRB, but any sitting judge in the state of California. Judges often face elections themselves or even face recalls, but they're unable to talk about the substance of specific cases and certainly cannot talk about pending cases. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
I think I'm going to defer for now to my colleagues. I do want to thank you for your service. I know you're in a tough position of looking at each case on its merits, and would it be fair to say in just about every case decision, you have some people that may be pleased with that decision and some people who may be dissatisfied with that position?
Right. It's not unusual for parties to express their disagreement with a decision of the board through letters. I received them over the years that I have been on the board. I have received letters from unions, employers, workers expressing the fact that they have disagreed with the decision of the board.
And I guess just as a final question at this moment, could you share your philosophy in that position of being a finder of fact, applying law to fact? Do you have any particular guiding philosophy in that role of how you approach each and every case?
Yes. My job is not to bring my personal my personal sort of experience or beliefs, that's one of the things I love about the law. I do, in fact, believe in the mission and the purpose of the ALRA, and that is one of the reasons why I sought appointment in the first place. My role is to implement that law, and to that extent, we have to follow NLRB precedent. We have to follow the statute, the regulations, past precedent of the ALRB. And beyond that, I have the four corners of the record that I am given, and in every case, I have to use not only the law that's cited, but the facts in the record in order to make a determination that, in fact, has to, it would serve no purpose if I was issuing decisions that couldn't contribute to building the law. So my goal is to build decisions that will, in fact, serve as a foundation for other boards in the future and for the workers and the employers that it's there to serve. So I view it as I am trying to get it right based upon the law and the facts every time.
Thank you. I know I said final question a few times. A final question. Would you consider it inappropriate to be asked to comment on a specific vote count in a particular case that's still pending in litigation?
I could not comment about a live case before the board on any matter, on any subject matter.
Thank you, and again, appreciate your service and for being here today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Monning. Senator Cannella.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. I appreciate the setup by Mr. Monning here, but I'll just make statements if you don't feel comfortable answering questions. First off, when you say that you've been overturned one time by the appellate court, was that the Ground case or was that a different case?
That was a different case.
Did you appeal that to the state Supreme Court?
I did not.
You did not. Why didn't you appeal it further?
The case was the 5th DCA, so just so I can explain, the family members are not allowed to vote in an election, and we had found that a foster child was a child for purposes of the act, and the 5th DCA upheld our decision. Oh, I'm sorry, a foster child. The 5th District Court of Appeal upheld our decision except to that aspect, because it was such a narrow definition that it had never been seen before. We decided not to utilize our resources in order to simply add that, because that is something that could be done through regulation.
Okay. And so I'm assuming on the Ground case, you are, because I think in your response you said it's your highest priority to take this to the Supreme Court and have it overturned. Is that correct?
Which Ground case are you referring to?
The one that there was just an opinion issued that on, let's see here, May 30th?
On the 5th.
Yeah.
So those are two separate cases. There's the case that is regarding mandatory mediation and conciliation and the constitutionality of it that he has filed for appeal at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay.
The case
Your number one priority is that case then at the Supreme Court, is winning that, keeping that?
Right, establishing the constitutionality of the statute.
Okay. Have you made a decision on whether you're going to appeal this latest one to the Supreme Court? Because it seems like you've lost. I'm not an attorney, but.
Well, if there was an appeal, it would go to the California Supreme Court.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm referencing the California.
But no. In fact, the court right now retains jurisdiction over that case, and it hasn't been transferred to the board, so we're currently discussing that in closed session.
Okay. Well, just if I can read from the opinion here briefly, it says, having reviewed the entire record, we conclude that several of the unfair labor practice findings relied on by the board were unsupported by the record as a whole. I'll skip down a little bit. The drastic remedy of throwing out the election in a case such as this one would appear to be either arbitrary or punitive or both, i.e. unnecessarily disenfranchising the employees as a punishment for the employer's wrongdoing. In essence, the board so narrowly focused on punishing the employer that it effectively lost sight of the correlative statutory value of protecting the farm workers' right to choose, which was and is a fundamental part of the board's mission under ALRA. So, and then further in the back it says, here, rather than counting the ballots and issuing a tally, the board has opted to leave the parties and the public completely in the dark regarding that information, as recognized, I'm going to say this wrong, in KDES, the board's refusal to issue a tally has deprived Gowan of an adequate remedy under the technical refusal to bargain process. And there's a note down here. We find the board's secretive approach troubling, especially in light of the fundamental principle that open and transparent government are an essential check against the arbitrary exercise of official power. Something seems greatly amiss when a statutory election process has been commended and secret ballot votes have been duly cast by the workers, but all pertinent information about what happened in the election, i.e. the vote tally, is suppressed or concealed by the government agency entrusted with the statutory process. So that's just reading from the opinion. That's concerning to me, quite frankly. As a supporter of labor, I personally am in Operating Engineers Local 3. I own the company. My employees are in the union, and they're in the union largely because they want to be in the union. And just this whole Gowan thing just seems very concerning to me. And so I hope that the board will count the votes. Just count it. The board, the ALRB asked to have the election held. They voted, and then the votes were impounded, and I think they wanted to be destroyed. Hopefully they're not destroyed. I think they're being stored. And I just don't understand why we can't count the votes and let the workers decide what they want to do. So with the court case, so you say it's still pending. It's because the court has asked you, I think, to count the votes. Is that correct?
The case, what happens is they issue their decision, but they retain jurisdiction over it for, usually it's 30 to 40 days, while the time for appeal and all of that elapses.
Okay.
Then they transfer jurisdiction back to the board.
Okay. And then at that time, it's transferred back to the board. Could you then comment on the case? I mean, I understand it's under litigation, you have to be careful, but once it's directed back to the board, what happens?
Then the board would make a decision. I mean, if it was appealed, then it wouldn't come back to us until after that.
Sure.
And then the board makes a decision about what to do when it's remanded.
Okay. Well, so again, some of my concerns, I know you can't comment on it, but a forced contract, I have no issue with the UFW. I think they do a great job, and I support unions as a whole. But when we look at something that I guess the vote was cast in the 90s to be part of the UFW, no contract was negotiated. I think the UFW, and I think they admit this, kind of walked away for 20 years, came back and said, look, we're the union representing the workers. We want to negotiate. And it seems like it went back to the board ultimately under this MMC or whatever the acronym is. And you forced a contract on the workers. The workers were upset. They voted to, I think it was a vote to decertify the union. And then the ballots were impounded. I hope you can see where some might say, this is not fair. I mean, can you at least see that perspective where the voters voted and the votes weren't counted, that they would think that that's not fair?
I'm not going to discuss.
Okay. All right. I guess if in any other election votes were cast, to let's say the votes were cast to form a union and the ballots were impounded and not voted, I think there would be an uprising like we've never seen, probably led by the ALRB, quite frankly. So, all right, I'll move on. There is a perception that the ALRB is biased, and this is just a general question, it's not about this case, is biased towards farm workers and the United Farm Workers Union. As a board member, how do you respond to that claim, and why do you believe that perception exists?
Well, I will respond to it. That's something that's been said repeatedly over many years. And in response, in fact, in 2016, a review was done, and when we looked at the numbers, which is something that we hadn't ever done before. So, and I think it might have been prompted by a rules committee. And in fact, the percentages were pretty equal. In election and both ULP cases, it came out to be about 47%, and then there were those cases where the decision was mixed for both the employer and the union. So the numbers don't support that. In fact, in both election and ULP cases, it has been even as far as
How many cases, roughly, based on those percentages?
I don't have the numbers in.
Just ballpark. Is it 10,000 or is it 100?
Oh, no, it's much smaller than.
Okay.
It's much smaller than that.
Okay, great. how are cases brought to the attention of the ALRB? What % of cases are brought to the board's attention from the UFW versus non-UFW cases?
Well, so when the cases come in, they come into our regional office, and that would be the general counsel's jurisdiction because she's a separate appointed authority, and there's a firewall between the two. And those can be filed by employees and employers and unions. Overwhelmingly, we have seen an increase because there hasn't been much election activity in concerted activity, which is individual. Most of our charges have been individual employees bringing cases and filing charges. So the general counsel makes her decision, decides to issue a complaint. That goes to our executive secretary who oversees the judges. He sets up for hearing. The ALJ then has to make a decision. So by the time it gets to the board, both the general counsel, an administrative law judge has made a ruling, and then we then review the case de novo, but there's obviously credibility determinations and all of that has been laid out. So I don't know as far as the percentages of UFW versus employers versus, I mean, it's very much a mix. I would say though it's probably overwhelmingly more individual employees than anything else. And
what type of complaints do they make typically?
It's retaliation.
Retaliation because they're talking about labor issues or something?
No, and it can range. We've seen, for example, if they don't get paid for travel time or wait time, if there were unsafe conditions and they decided they were not going to work in those conditions and then they were fired as a result. There are ones where they just aren't paid. So any type of working condition that we hear about in other labor agencies, when it happens with a group of people and then there's some action against them, then it falls under our jurisdiction.
So what if an employee complains about unsafe working conditions or retaliation and it's a large company? Do you just look at that one case? Because if it's happening to one, it's probably happening to many, right?
Well, in order for it to even be accepted by the general counsel's office, it has to be considered activity. So it has to be an activity on behalf of at least one other employee, and sometimes it's a group, sometimes it is just a few of them. And they investigate the facts of that. And again, this isn't something that we do, but they investigate the facts surrounding those employees and the witnesses to those actions, and similar to what a DA and investigative office would do.
Well, would you take action? I guess my concern would be if it's happening to 2, it's maybe happening to 22, right? So would you take action against that employer to make sure that that stops happening? Would you educate the rest of the employees on what their rights are? I mean, how do you keep it from spreading to more employees, or how do you deal with this so if it has spread that you can deal with that as well?
So I know just anecdotally, I mean, there are situations where if something happens and it can be remedied without anything being filed or any litigation, because
maybe it's a mistake
that's the
or
goal.
something, yeah.
Whatever, you're right. They have those discussions and try to resolve those. But if it actually gets to the point where it is heard by an administrative law judge and it does come to the board, part of what we do in our remedies is we do notice remedies, and then the information is put out to the entire workforce.
Okay, so they would understand what the issue was and what their rights are.
Right.
Okay, that's great. So what policies and procedures exist related to investigating whistleblower complaints and protecting whistleblowers from retaliation? So that was a complaint against the board, and we looked at doing an audit. Have you made, obviously we want whistleblowers to be protected. Have you made any internal changes with how you guys do business to protect whistleblowers?
I mean, there are statewide protections, and there are, there's the auditor's office and all of that have investigate those whistleblower complaints. And I believe when they have been filed, they have done so.
Well, there was an issue between, it was retaliation between a former staff member and the ALRB. Are you aware of that? I mean, I think it was just recently, right? So
I gave you a name, I would be able to understand more.
Okay. So I guess what you're saying is you just rely on whatever the statewide standards are. The board has not made any internal changes within the ALRB to protect whistleblowers?
I mean, we have a whistleblower protection policies, just like all state agencies, in order to protect whistleblowers.
I'll get you some more information on
Okay.
that particular case. That's
Okay.
a little concerning that you don't know that, but okay. So we talked about in the Rules Committee, you said your most immediate goal for the next term is to ensure the mandatory mediation and conciliation state statute is sustained at the U.S. Supreme Court in the groundwork farming case and to prevail in MMC-related cases at the Superior Court and Appellate Court. Is it the role of the ALRB commissioners to ensure that a state statute is sustained at the U.S. Supreme Court level?
The board's charged with implementing the act. So whatever amendments are then made to that act, we're charged with drafting the regulations to implement it, enforcing it, and ultimately upholding the act. So to the extent that the agency is responsible for defending the statute, yes.
Okay. All right, well, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Senator Roth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, decades ago in my youth, I spent a little bit of time as a field attorney at the National Labor Relations Board in Region 21 in Los Angeles. It was actually in 1979, in the fledgling years of the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. So I've noted with interest how the board has evolved over the years, and frankly, some of the individuals that I worked with in Los Angeles were instrumental in designing the initial rules that the board, at least at that time, operated under. That's how old I am. But I did note at the time, and I've noted since, that there's nothing more heated than disputes that involve employers and labor organizations and employees, certainly before the National Labor Relations Board, and it sounds as if the same thing applies to the Agricultural Labor Relations Board as well. So I thank you for your attempt to try to navigate that minefield and apply the law, apparently, in a fair and reasonable basis as a member of the board, and thank you for your prior service. One thing that has interested me, as I've had a little bit of contact since I've been up here with the board, as your caseload decreases, I note in our material that we budgeted about 47 positions for the board. I'm trying to get an idea of how many field attorneys and examiners you have who actually handle representation elections, unfair labor practice charges, and objections following those elections and related material. Is that something you can?
I believe it. I mean, we have 63 positions. There's about 15 board members. I mean, 15 at the board level and stuff. So I would say we have 35, 40. I don't know if the general counsel 40 staff members out in the regions.
And this is, again, I have a follow-up question. It's not anything you have to provide today, but I would be interested in hearing from you or someone at some point about it, and that is, what is the average caseload per field examiner and field attorney in the ALRB operation, given the decrease in the caseload over the years from 1976 to date?
And one thing I can speak to, just from being on the board for so long, is that, so there was the height, and then we had there was a lot of staff, obviously, back then when they were processing hundreds and hundreds of cases. And then the staffing decreased dramatically. So we went all the way back down. And so it's been a slow build over the last, I think, 10 years. That has coincided actually with an increase in work that we are experiencing, both in the number of charges that are being filed out in the regions. Nothing close to what happened in the initial years of the act. But in comparison to, say, 15 years ago, there has been an increase in both charges and the number of complaints that the general counsel is issuing, as well as in the board's work.
Do you anticipate an increase in your workload in the future, given the developments with respect to cannabis in the state of California most recently? And if so, how do you plan to handle that increase?
I honestly think we will have time to plan for it, because right now it seems to be in its infancy. It has been, there's only less than 1% of the cannabis cultivators are sought the licensing through the CDFA and the process that has been set out in the statute. So I think it's going to take some time for those people who decide to move from what was an illegal market into a legal market, and to see if we are then going to see a workload increase as a result. And so I anticipate that we will see some of that coming.
Do you have field office operations in the areas that, at least historically, have been our cannabis growing regions in the state?
Yes, my understanding is there are inquiries going on out in the regions.
Okay, and then one last question. You know, I noted with interest in reviewing the material that the board has been operating for quite some time now with 2 vacancies on the board. And my question is, what impact, if any, have those vacancies had on the board's operation?
Well, I think unlike other boards, every case, and I know you know this, every case is reviewed de novo by every board member so that we can have an educated vote going forward. So there isn't any implications as far as reducing the workload for individual board members. And for the time, 90% of the time I've been on the board, we've operated with 3 board members. And it's always been a wide variety of personal, educational, professional backgrounds. So it's really led to quite a diverse discussion and deliberations and viewpoints. So I feel like we've done a good job, I guess, of the people that have been on there, and to represent sort of the varying perspectives. And I think in looking at the decisions that then have come out of those boards, and the fact that they have withstood scrutiny, is sort of a testament to that. So, you know, obviously filling those vacancies is the governor's call, but I do think we've done a good job with the members that we have had over the years.
Well, I want to thank you for your service. Again, there's nothing more difficult than to be a decider, if that's the right word, in the labor employment union environment as a member of whether it's the National Labor Relations Board or the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. You will never please everybody, and in most cases won't please very many. It's a difficult job. Thank you for doing it, and congratulations on your reappointment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Roth. I'm going to turn to members of the public now, and I would ask those in support. We have a microphone if you would like to come up, give your name and your association if it's relevant, and brief comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Mitch Steiger with the California Labor Federation, here in strong support of the reappointment of Board Member Rivera-Hernandez. And just wanted to mention that we believe her experience before her time on the board, her time since she's been there, and her comments today really leave no doubt that she's both experienced and fair and knowledgeable when it comes to this mission that we believe is just about the most important one that faces workers, their right to organize. And we think nowhere is there a more important place to put people that have the kind of competence and willingness to work with all sides, but willingness to also take seriously their mission that on the ALRB. And we think she very much meets those qualities and urge a reappointment.
Thank you very much. Others in support? Okay. Members in opposition? And we have a microphone, and you can come up. I know that we probably have a few people here who want to speak. If so, please come forward. State your name, association if you have one, and comments. Briefly, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Valadez for the record with California Fresh Fruit Association. As the record indicated earlier, Ms. Rivera-Hernandez and her board colleagues have reciprocated invitations out to farms, have taken farm tours, and in fact, as representative employer, we've actually stood back in many cases to allow, during those interactions, the board members or staff, even on the general counsel side, to talk to former employees to get educated and to learn more about wages and working conditions and just the work environment. However, I think as both Senator Monning earlier and Senator Roth most recently framed, in her role, there are winners and losers, and I think we all understand that, wouldn't argue against the role that she has as a judge with winners and losers. However, we do not believe that the losers should be predetermined to be the employees. And in this case, at least as it relates to the case before the ALRB and before the courts on the ground matter, the employees have been the losers. Why? whether it's many, whether it's most. We do not know whether it's a majority, whether it's a minority, what they want. We do not know what they've chosen in a decertification election because the ballots haven't been counted. And so to us, I don't believe we can move forward today, which in support of Ms. Rivera-Hernandez, which is the case 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were here today supporting Ms. Rivera-Hernandez because of the outreach, the interest, the engagement to the industry and to the employee community to learn more about their issues and interests. But fast forwarding to today, at the end of the day for us, the concern is it's not about winners or losers. It's about understanding what it is that employees want and then doing what they can as public agents entrusted to actually protect that and place that into motion. And to us, that has been obstructed. It is not happening. And for those reasons, we oppose today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the event that we do have a need for translation, we do have a translator, and I assume she will come forward when it's determined necessary. Otherwise, please come forward, your name, association, if you have one, and comments, briefly.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Jesse Rojas, and I'm the spokesperson for Pick Justice and California Farm Workers and Families. In the interest of time, I'll keep this to the point. We have a lot of individuals who have traveled far, and first I'd like to acknowledge farm workers who, regardless of anyone's personal feelings towards this issue, they came up here to voice their opinion, and I want to acknowledge that they're here today and thank them for doing so. So first of all, this has been going on for years. It's not the first time that they come up here on their own time, own dime, and speak out on their issue. There has been dozens of protests by thousands of Latino immigrant farm workers across the state for almost 5 years. And all these protests have been for one simple reason. And we can sit here and debate over law, case law, and pending litigation, but the reality is this. It's that these farm workers, over 3,000 of them, want the same rights that all other workers across the state and across the country have today. Those same rights that Cesar Chavez fought for. He fought for farm worker rights and for the simple freedom to choose. Simple, America, to choose. Let them choose. Count their votes. What harm can come from that? In fact, if you read the over 130-page decision from the 5th District Court of Appeals, it's all about counting the votes. They're not even saying certify the results. If you still want to take this to the state Supreme Court again and spend more valuable taxpayer dollars, go ahead. If you still want to destroy them after you count them, go ahead. We'll vote again as many times as it takes, anywhere you want, however you want. But what kind of remedy to the civil rights violation can come if those votes are never counted? If God's nature, a pipe breaks at that office, a fire erupts, you can never remedy that to the thousands of Latino immigrant farm workers who voted. They're just saying, count them, let us know what the outcome was. And if you understand basic labor relations and basic labor law, and I'm not an attorney, but I love to read, you will see that throughout ALRA and ALRB decisions, and especially NLRB, National Labor Relations Board decisions, the typical procedure, you count the votes. You could do a hearing, you could file objections, you can file ULPs, the whole legal process, but you count the votes and you let the parties know what the outcome was, and then you litigate it and you do the other things. So the real court has now said that and ordered the ALRB to count the votes. No one has to pretend the ALRB speaks for these workers. I think it's very to the point in common sense now. They never did. The court has made it clear, count the votes, and I'm telling you today that Mrs. Rivera-Hernandez, professionally, it would be wrong to want to force a contract on these farm workers without letting them choose, period. Imagine if your own staffers in these buildings did not have the right to choose, if something was forced upon them, or to you for that matter. Imagine if your votes were not counted every 2 or 4 years. Imagine if our military personnel across overseas, their votes were not counted. Why are they different? How are they different? You know, some of them have told me, how come we can't vote under the NLRB? We hear other packing houses and other companies that their votes are counted. We hear that if the NLRB would have administered this election, our votes would be counted. Would they be certified, the results? We don't know, but they would have been counted. Why not us? What's wrong with us? They always keep asking that. So treat these workers with the respect they deserve and simply count the votes. And thank you for listening to me today. And I oppose Mrs. Hernandez for reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward.
Ángel López.
Disculpen por quitarle su tiempo a ustedes,
I apologize for taking up some of your time,
pero una vez más venimos a pedir ayuda.
but once again, we appeal to you for help.
No sé si hay una diferencia entre
I don't know
entre yo y las demás
if
personas,
there's a difference between me and other people.
porque yo he mirado de que las demás personas votan y se les cuenta su voto.
Because I've seen that other people vote and their vote counts.
Yo no tengo papeles y la mayoría de mis compañeros tampoco tenemos papeles legales en este país.
I don't have any papers, and most of my colleagues don't have any paperwork either to be here in the States.
Tiene que haber algo eso de que yo no tenga papeles y otras personas sí para que se pueda contar los votos.
Is that a fact for the fact, or does that count towards my vote not being counted, whereas theirs is?
Ya estamos cansados de esto de ir para allá, venir para
We're
acá,
tired of going here and there,
buscando ayuda y hasta el día de hoy no quieren contar los votos.
looking for help, and to this day, nobody wants to count the
Y no
votes.
importa cuántas veces se relija una persona de su puesto,
It doesn't matter how many times a person is reelected to positions.
si no hace su trabajo lo que es justo.
If that person does not do their job, if the person does not do what is right and fair.
Obviamente que si una persona vota, obviamente que se tiene que contar su voto. Por
If
eso que
the
la persona
person
votó.
votes, then that vote needs to count. Otherwise, what's the point in voting?
Una vez pedimos más ayuda a la señora Rivera-Hernández que cuente nuestros votos.
Once again, I would like to ask, I appeal to Ms. Rivera-Hernandez to count our votes.
Y si no los quiere contar, que los destruya
And if she doesn't want to count them, then if they want to destroy them,
y volvemos a votar si eso es lo que quiere.
then we'll vote again if that's what she wants.
Pero que se cuenten, por favor.
But please, have the votes counted.
Es todo lo que los trabajadores del campo queremos. Yo y mis compañeros
That
somos más
is
de 3,000
all
trabajadores
what we want, the farm workers. There are more than 3,000 of us.
que nomás queremos que se cuenten los votos. Es todo.
We simply want our votes to be counted. That is all.
Una vez más lo vuelvo a repetir. Si quieren que volvamos a votar, lo
Once
volvemos
again,
a hacer.
I'll say, if you want us to vote again, we will.
Es todo. Que tengan buen día y disculpen por su tiempo.
That is all. Thank you very much, and I apologize for taking up your time.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Soy trabajadora del campo de
Su nombre,
Yaraguán,
señora.
Julia Muñoz.
Julia Muñoz.
Soy trabajadora del campo de Yaraguán Farming de hace 17 años.
For 17 years, I've been a farm worker at Jerawan Farms,
Lo único que le pedimos a la señora Rivera-Hernández
and the only thing we
que
ask from
cuenten
Ms.
nuestros votos, por favor.
Rivera-Hernandez is to please count our votes.
¿O a qué le tienen miedo?
Or what is it that they're afraid of?
Gracias.
Thank you. Judith Solis.
Buenas tardes también a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Y también es lo único que venimos a pedir. Yo trabajo en Yaraguán Farming.
That's the only thing we come here to ask for. I also work at Jerawan Farming.
Tengo 18 temporadas ahí.
I've been working there for 18 seasons.
Y también pido, por favor, que se cuenten nuestros votos.
And I am asking to please have our votes counted.
Y que respeten también nuestra decisión, que no queremos,
Do respect our decision
no queremos la unión, no queremos,
that we don't want that union,
no queremos tampoco la unión de campesinos.
and we don't want that farm workers union or the farmers union.
Es todo.
That is all. Thank you.
Mi nombre es Sandra Baltasar.
Sandra Baltasar.
Sí.
My name is Sandra Balthasar.
Vengo de Ruili, California. Ruili, California.
I come from Greeley, California,
Soy trabajadora desde el año 92.
and I've been a farm worker since 1992.
Trabajo para la empresa Yaraguán Farming
I work for Jerawan Farming,
y solamente vengo que nos ayude, por favor.
and I come here in order to ask for help.
Somos latinos inmigrantes,
We're
pero
Latin
sabemos
migrant
lo que
workers,
queremos.
but
Y
we know what
nuestros
we want.
derechos Cuenten
And
nuestros
our
votos.
rights, we know our rights, and our rights should count, so please do count our votes.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Evelia Calvillo.
My name is Evelia Calvillo.
Vengo de Ridley.
I come from Greeley.
Tengo 26 años trabajando para la misma compañía.
I've been working for the same company for 26 years.
Esa compañía a mí me ha dado mucho.
That company has given me a lot.
Yo he tenido para mis hijos, he tenido una casa.
I've had a way to support my children. I have a home.
Para poderles dar educación a mis dos hijas, que
I've
ya
been
son
able
graduadas en Los Ángeles.
To educate my two daughters. They have already graduated in Los Angeles.
Toda mi familia depende del campo.
My entire family lives off the farm work.
Yo lo que vengo a pedir que se cuenten nuestros votos.
I come here to ask for our votes to be counted.
Yo sé que todos tenemos los mismos derechos.
I know that we all have the same rights.
Una vez más, yo lo que les pido que cuenten nuestros votos y
Once
si
again,
no, pues como dijo mi
Please
compañero,
count our votes.
pues lo que se destruyan y si es posible
And
volvemos
if
a votar.
not, well, have them destroyed, and then, if it's possible, we'll vote again.
También estoy en contra de la unión porque
I'm against the union
donde yo trabajo,
because where I work,
yo gano muy bien. Yo no
I
estoy
earn
dispuesta
good
a
money.
dar un 3% de mi dinero.
and I'm not willing to pay 3% of my own money.
Gracias.
Thank
Buenas
you,
tardes.
and have a good afternoon.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Mi nombre es Isaura Cristóbal
My name is Isora Cristobal.
y también vengo de Ruili
I also come from Greeley.
y tengo 33 años trabajando en la misma compañía
I've been working at the same company for 33 years.
también vengo por la misma razón de que se cuenten los votos
And I come here for the same reason, to ask for our votes to be counted.
para que tenemos los mismos derechos, que se respeten en las leyes laborales y todo.
Because we have the same rights, and we want our rights to be respected and for labor laws to be upheld.
Que no nos traten de ignorantes, que tenemos también nosotros derechos laborales.
Please don't treat us as if we were ignorant people. We know our labor rights, and we have labor rights.
Gracias a Dios, yo sí ya soy una ciudadana de aquí de Estados Unidos.
Thank
y ya,
God I'm already a U.S. citizen,
y ya he votado en 3 ocasiones.
and I have already voted 3 times.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you
Que
very
tengan buen
much.
día.
Have a good day.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopez. I have been numerous times in the ALRB, and we have a very bad experience in the ALRB. We were declared basically ignorant that we need a union to represent us, and I have filed several claims to the ALRB, and nothing has been done, and I just want our votes to be counted. That's basically it. Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Silvia López
My name is Sylvia Lopez,
y he vivido esta pesadilla por casi 5 años.
and I've lived this nightmare for almost 5 years.
Así es que yo sé exactamente para qué está la ley laboral.
So I know exactly what labor laws are for.
Y lo que yo necesito hoy
And what I need today
es que se cuenten los votos, porque hay unos jueces que tomaron una decisión para
is
que
for
se
the
contaran los votos.
votes to be counted, because there are judges that took a decision that indicated, that ordered that those votes should be counted.
Yo no sé por qué la ley laboral no respeta la ley y no cuentan los votos.
I don't know why labor law does not respect the law and why votes are not counted.
Yo me opongo a que la señora Rivera-Hernandez siga en la ley laboral.
I object that Ms. Rivera-Hernandez stay on this board,
Porque hasta ahorita no ha hecho nada para ayudarnos.
because up to this moment she has done nothing to help us.
Y casi estoy segura que no hay trabajadores del campo que la conozca.
And I am almost certain that there is no farm worker that knows her
Y que tengan una buena experiencia de la ley laboral.
and that have made a good experience with labor law.
Los 3,000 trabajadores de la compañía Growan
The 3,000 workers of Jerawan, the company,
detestan la ley laboral.
detest labor law.
¿Por qué? Porque sabemos que no están allí para nosotros.
Why? Because we know that it's not there for us, to help us.
Voy a finalizar con esto. La,
And I'm going to close with this.
la señora puede ser reelegida hoy
This lady might be reappointed today
y otros 10 años más,
and another 10 years,
pero nosotros vamos a seguir luchando hasta que sea desertificada la unión en la compañía Growan Farming. But we will continue fighting until the union is decertified at Tier 1 farming,
Así, aunque ella dure 30, 40 años en la ley laboral.
even if she's there in the labor law board for 30 or 40 years more.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Ángel Rincón.
Ángel Rincón. My name is Ángel Rincón.
Soy campesino.
I'm a farmer.
Yo y mis compañeros venimos a pedir justicia
My mates and I, we're here to ask for justice,
porque se cuentan nuestros votos,
and we ask for our votes to be counted,
como lo hizo la Corte del Quinto Distrito, del Quinto Distrito de Fresno.
like the court of the 5th District in Fresno indicated.
Solamente queremos justicia. Gracias.
We only want justice. Thank you.
My name is Ali Hernandez, and I believe that it doesn't matter whether you've been working for a week or 20 years, but at the end of the day, you're a worker, and whether you represent, it doesn't matter what you represent either, because the representative is supposed to represent the decision of the workers, and for the person to not have their actual, opinions taken and actually have them represented is just morally wrong. And I think that's pretty much it. It's not that much to just count the votes and do your job.
Hello, my name is Karen Garcia, and I work for Tier 1 Farming. I'm here to say that we do oppose you. Tier 1 is a very good company to all the people that works for them. They help them a lot, and that's all I'm here to say for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Lorena Gutiérrez.
My name is Lorena Gutierrez.
Tengo 18 años trabajando en Tier 1 Farming.
I've been working at Tier 1 Farming for 18 years.
Mi esposo tiene 26 años trabajando en la compañía.
And my husband has been working at that company for 26 years.
Y de ahí es donde nos ha sacado adelante a todos.
And that has given us the possibility of having a better life.
Pues me gustaría que nos tomaran en cuenta,
And I would like for
que cuenten los votos.
people to take us into account, to count our votes.
Y esto.
And that
Gracias.
is all. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alicia Domínguez,
Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Dominguez.
vengo de Kerman, California.
I come from Kerman, California.
Soy una empacadora de durazno
I'm a peach packer
con una experiencia de 14 años.
with 14 years experience.
Mi esposo tiene 22 años trabajando para la misma compañía.
My husband has been working for the same company for 22 years.
Prácticamente dependemos del campo
We basically depend on the land.
y en todos estos años no nos ha faltado alguien para que venga a representarnos.
And throughout, ¿les ha faltado?
No
les
nos
ha
ha
faltado.
faltado.
And throughout all these years, we have never lacked anybody to represent us.
Yo lo que vengo a pedir es que ¿por qué no podemos tener los mismos derechos civiles y laborales que tienen todos los trabajadores de Estados Unidos?
And I'm here to ask, why can we not have the same civil and labor laws than all the other workers here in the United States?
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Soy Micaela Macías.
My name is Micaela Macias.
Tengo 23 años trabajando para la misma compañía
I've been working for the same company for 23 years.
y vengo a pedirles, por favor, ¿por qué no podemos tener los mismos derechos civiles y laborales que tienen todos los trabajadores de Estados Unidos?
And I'm here to ask you, why can't we not have the same civil and labor rights that all the other workers here in the United States have?
Cuenten nuestros votos, por favor.
Please do count our votes.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Díaz.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Diaz.
Yo pido igual tener los mismos derechos
I ask
laborales.
for the same thing, to have the same labor rights.
Yo trabajo en dos diferentes compañías
I work for two different
que
companies,
dependen agricultura solamente.
and they're both agricultural companies.
Y pues mi exigencia es los que cuentan los votos para tener los derechos.
And I'm demanding for these votes to be counted so that we can have the same rights. Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Carmen Ortiz.
My name is Carmen Ortiz,
Vengo de Ridley.
and I come from Wrigley.
Trabajo en un empaque.
I work in a packing plant,
También trabajo en el PIC cuando no hay en el empaque.
and when there's no packing work, I work in the fields as well.
Nomás voy a decir algo corto.
I'm going
Lo
to be
mismo
very
que
brief.
otras compañeras les tocó.
The same thing other
decir
people
igual
have
que yo.
already said.
¿Por qué no podemos tener los mismos derechos
Why can we not have the same
civiles
rights,
y laborales como todos los trabajadores de aquí de Estados Unidos?
civil and labor rights, the
Y es
same
todo.
way that all the other workers here in the
Y que
United States
cuenten
have?
nuestros votos.
Do count the votes.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Víctor Ortiz.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Ortiz.
Okay, estoy aquí porque estoy en contra que Rivera-Hernández sea elegida otra vez.
I'm here because I'm against that Ms. Rivera-Hernandez be appointed or elected
Se me
again.
hace una persona corrupta
She's a corrupt person.
porque no cuenta nuestros votos.
She does not count the votes.
Okay, hay algo que esconde allí.
There's something there that is
Okay.
being hidden.
Okay, y no somos ignorantes.
We are not ignorant
Thank you.
people. Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Arcelia Villanueva.
I'm Arcelia Villanueva.
Soy empacadora de durazno
I'm a
en la
peach
misma
packer.
compañía.
In the same company.
Tengo 16 años.
I've been there for 16 years.
Y de allí dependemos yo y mi familia.
Both my
y,
family and I, we depend on this work.
y no nos ha faltado nada.
We have never lacked for anything.
Y también por causa de esto que está pasando, nos quitaron la uva en la misma compañía.
And because of what has been happening about this, they took away the grape from that company.
Después de que terminábamos el empaque de durazno, nos íbamos otros 2 meses a la uva.
Before, once we were done packing peaches, we would go and work for another 2 months on grape.
Y también que cuenten nuestros votos. ¿A qué le tienen miedo? Estamos en América donde tenemos derechos y libertades.
Do count the votes, do count the ballots. We're here in America where we have liberties and rights.
Que cuenten los votos, por favor.
Please
Gracias.
count our votes. Thank you.
Mi nombre es Clara López.
My name is Clara López.
Solo voy a ser breve.
I'm going to be very brief.
Yo pido que cuenten nuestros votos.
I ask for our votes to be counted.
Durante el tiempo que he trabajado ahí 20 años,
I've been working at that place for 20 years.
nadie me ha representado.
During all that time, nobody has represented or spoken for me.
No necesitamos ni de la Unión,
We don't
ni
need
de
the union,
Rivera-Hernández.
and we don't need Rivera-Hernandez.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Carlota Flores.
My name is Carlota Flores.
Vengo de Parlier, California.
I come from Parlier, California.
Tengo 20 años trabajando para Grawan Farming como empacadora.
I've been a packer at Jarawan Farming for 20 years.
Y trabajo en el campo también.
And I also work in the fields.
Soy mamá soltera.
I'm a single mom.
Estos 20 años tengo mi casa que estoy pagando. Mis hijos pagaron su educación en la escuela.
For these 20 years,
privada.
I've had my home, and I've been able to raise my children and pay their tuition.
Me gustaría, como tengo derecho de elegir.
Since I have the right to choose,
yo he elegido trabajar ahí y estoy agradecida con Dios.
I have chosen to work there, and I thank God
por todos los beneficios del fruto de mi trabajo que estoy cosechando.
all the benefits that I am gaining from my labor, the harvest that I have,
Por todos estos 20 años.
that I have made throughout these 20 years.
Y me gustaría que escuchen nuestra voz.
I would like for our voices to be heard.
Tenemos derecho de elegir qué es lo que
We have
queremos.
the right to choose, and that is what we are asking for.
Y no quiero que me quiten mi 3% más.
I don't want a 3% to be taken off.
Tengo que mantener mi familia.
I have to support my family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Amelia Padilla.
My name is Amelia Padilla.
Soy empacadora.
I'm a packer.
Tengo más de 15 años.
I've been working
de
for over
empacadora.
15 years.
Mi esposo, 32 años.
As a packer, my husband has been working for 32
Trabajando.
years.
Yo estoy aquí, vengo por mi propia voluntad.
I come here on my own free will.
La Unión siempre ha dicho que nosotros nos pagan por venir, pero no, cada quien viene por
The
su propia.
union has always said that we are being paid to come here, but that is not true. We all come here because we want to.
Nosotros buscamos lo que nos beneficia a nosotros
We look for whatever is good for us, what benefits us.
y nunca hemos querido que la Unión interfiera por nosotros,
We have never wanted for the union to intervene.
porque no lo necesitamos.
We don't need them.
Yo pienso que en lugares que sí lo necesitan deben ellos de intervenir.
There are places where they're needed, and I think that's where they should intervene.
Con nosotros estamos bien, sabemos que todo lo que nos ofrecen de trabajo es por ellos, estamos aquí,
We're doing
sacamos a
well.
nuestras familias adelante.
We're doing fine, and because of this work that we have been able to survive and to support our families.
Y también quiero que a la señora Rivera-Hernández no la confirmen,
I don't want you to reappoint Ms. Rivera-Hernandez
porque ella no hace bien para los trabajadores del campo.
because she has done no good for the farm workers.
Y espero que cuenten nuestros votos, que si no los cuentan, volveremos
count
tantas veces se
Our
pueda.
votes. And if they're not counted, well, we'll continue doing this.
Pero no vamos a parar por luchar por el beneficio para nosotros.
We will not stop fighting for this gain of ours for these benefits.
Y es todo.
That
Muchas
is all.
gracias.
Thank you very much.
Mi nombre es Guadalupe Arellano.
Arellano? My name is Guadalupe Arellano.
Tengo 21 años trabajando para la empresa Yerawan.
I've been working for Jerawan for 21 years.
A nosotros nadie nos ha pagado, a ninguno de los compañeros que estamos aquí, nadie nos ha pagado el día por no ir a trabajar ahora.
We have not been paid. None
Solo
of us has
queremos
been
que
paid.
respeten lo que nosotros
to come
queremos.
here.
Queremos que cuenten los votos.
We only want to be
y
respected, have
que
our voices
rompan los que tienen y
heard.
volvamos a votar.
have our votes counted, destroy those that you have, and let us vote again.
Y muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Gerardo Cazares. I am a former farm worker, and actually, most of my family is still farm workers. For about almost 5 years, I've been following and advocating this case that's been going on for the farm workers, trying to just have their votes counted and whatnot. And the 5th District Court of Appeals agrees that their votes should be counted, and I believe that the ALRB should do their job and count the votes. And I oppose to Cathryn being reappointed because I feel she is more lenient when it comes to UFW cases and doesn't follow the law. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let me let me thank Ms. Rivera-Hernandez for being here to translate. And I might ask you to come back up, given the nature, if you would, the nature of so many people who were here speaking Spanish. so that they can understand our conversation as we make a determination and decision, if you would, please. Consecutively is fine. I believe my colleagues can handle that. Senator Monning.
Se va a hacer la traducción al español para que puedan ustedes escuchar y seguir las opiniones de los senadores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a couple of more questions for the nominee.
Muchas gracias. Tengo unas preguntas más para la señora.
Quisiera decir gracias por su presencia a los trabajadores y escuchamos su voz. I want to thank the workers for being here. We hear your voice. And for Ms. Rivera-Hernandez, in your experience as a board member of the ALRB, you are familiar with National Labor Relations Board precedent?
Señora, usted en su capacidad de integrante de la directiva, o sea, de la Junta de Relaciones Laborales Agrícolas, ¿usted conoce las obligaciones?
If you could answer through the microphone.
Yes, I am.
And some of the workers expressed concern that the ALRB was applying a different set of laws than workers in the rest of the country enjoy in terms of their protected labor rights and civil rights.
Algunos de los trabajadores han manifestado aquí su preocupación y su inconformidad por el hecho de que aseveran que la ALRB no cumple de la misma manera los derechos laborales de ellos como se hace en otras partes del país.
And under the National Labor Relations Board, is it not true that there is precedent of impounding ballots during determination of unfair labor practices in a contested election?
¿Y no es acaso cierto que a nivel nacional, cuando se habla de las relaciones laborales, que ahí sí existe precedente de que para determinar el resultado de alguna elección que haya sido disputada, para determinar si hubo o no infracción al derecho laboral, que eso se ha manejado de esa manera?
Yes, the NLRB commonly uses the impoundment procedure that it adopted back in the 70s.
Y generalmente a nivel nacional se procede con el sistema que se implementó en los 70s.
And as a result, the board has also used the impoundment procedure in contested elections so that the election could go forward and not waste resources.
The interpreter would like to ask Ms. Rivera, talking about impoundment?
Yes,
the impounding of ballots. That's one of the concerns. The ballots are being held. They haven't been counted.
Es el sistema de retener los votos para antes, en lugar de contarlos. Eso ha sido uno de los sistemas aplicados y hay precedente para eso.
And if you're able to comment on this, the ballots that were cast, is it the practice of the ALRB in impounding those that those are protected securely?
Yes.
Y ha sido la práctica de ustedes, o sea, del LRB, de que estos votos o estas boletas de votación que se han retenido, que esas sin que se cuenten y que se protejan, que se conservan de manera protegida.
Yes, they are kept in a safe in the regional office.
Sí, se mantienen en una caja fuerte en la oficina regional.
And in your practice, not on this case, but in general, as a member of the board of the Agricultural Labor Relations Board, have you endeavored to follow precedent law of the National Labor Relations Board where applicable?
¿Y usted, como miembro de la Junta Agrícola de Relaciones Laborales, ha seguido también en ocasiones la práctica de la Junta Nacional que se basa en precedente para resolver alguna situación?
Not only do we strive, but we are actually legally required to follow an ALRB precedent.
No solamente procuramos hacerlo, sino que existe una obligación legal, un requisito legal de que nosotros procedamos de esa manera.
And you take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the U.S., of the State of California, and the Agricultural Labor Relations Act. Is that correct?
Usted prestó juramento de que, de que cumpliría la Constitución de California y también la ley que regula las relaciones laborales agrícolas, ¿cierto?
That is correct.
Así es.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that opportunity.
Gracias a la señora presidenta.
Thank you. Just in general comments, I would say,
Quiero hacer un comentario de tipo general.
it is absolutely the right of anyone to be here and ask us as the Rules Committee to either confirm or to deny Ms. Rivera-Hernandez's confirmation.
Definitivamente es derecho de todos el estar aquí y el de dirigirse a nosotros y de solicitar que se ratifique o no se ratifique el nombramiento o elección de una persona.
That is what we have to decide before us today, not the legal determination related to the lawsuit that has been also rightfully filed.
Esa es nuestra obligación el día de hoy. Esto es lo que debemos decidir. Nuestra decisión no es el tomar un fallo en relación con el litigio, con el caso pendiente, con la demanda, que también tienen todo el derecho de presentar una demanda, pero no es algo que vamos a decidir aquí el día de hoy nosotros.
So it is our responsibility to make that determination whether we support the confirmation. That is our responsibility. Unfortunately, we are not the court of law that will make the determination on whether the outcome of the legal case that is pending.
Nuestra responsabilidad es precisamente el decidir si se confirma o no a la persona que ha sido nombrada para un cargo determinado. Lamentablemente no somos un tribunal como tal que pueda decidir el resultado de la demanda o que pueda fallar a favor o en contra de la demanda que está en curso.
I have heard your voice.
He escuchado la voz que ustedes han levantado aquí.
And understand that for those of you that said, please count our vote, you were also saying we do not support the reconfirmation of Ms. Rivera-Hernandez.
Y también entiendo que al decir ustedes, por favor, cuenten nuestro voto, nuestros votos, con eso dan a entender que están en desacuerdo con que se confirme el nombramiento de la señora Rivera-Hernandez.
I appreciate your being here to make your voices heard, and we understand that it is our responsibility to determine whether to confirm.
Les agradezco a todos por su presencia aquí el día de hoy y estoy consciente de que es nuestra responsabilidad determinar si se le ratifica o no en ese cargo.
I know that Vice Chairman Cannella wants to make a comment or ask another question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Pro Tem. So you said that you're following NLRB precedent with impounding of ballots.
Señora, usted dijo que sigue el precedente de la Junta a nivel nacional en cuanto al decomiso, digamos, o la confiscación de las boletas.
So since you've been on the board since 2002, how many times have you impounded ballots?
Desde el año 2002 hasta la fecha, ¿cuántas veces han ustedes retenido estas boletas?
We've had so few elections during the time that I've been on the board.
Hemos tenido muy pocas elecciones desde que yo estoy en la Junta.
And I would be guessing, maybe I probably should know the answer to that. And I hate to guess.
Yeah.
No lo puedo yo estimar o adivinar y no me gusta hacer eso.
But it has been done before?
Oh, yes.
Pero sí se ha hecho anteriormente, sí.
Have you ever held ballots for as long as you currently have with the Growan case?
¿Alguna vez se han retenido los votos durante tanto tiempo como ha sido el caso ahora con el caso de la empresa Jerawan?
We have had a handful of cases very similar to Growan's case.
Ha habido unos cuantos casos muy parecidos a al de Jerawan.
I can't recall if they went as long, but they definitely involved lengthy proceedings as well.
No sé qué tanto duraron, pero sí sé que también fueron procedimientos algo prolongados.
Okay. Also, and this should be public record, so hopefully you can comment on this. At any time, did the board want to destroy the ballots?
Algo que es del conocimiento común, así que usted puede comentar al respecto. En algún momento la Junta de Relaciones Laborales Agrícolas contempló la posibilidad de destruir estas boletas.
Absolutely not.
Definitivamente no.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias.
And then just final comment, Madam Pro Tem. The ALRB's mission is very simple. The law gives ALRB two principal duties. One, administer and certify elections in which agricultural employees choose whether they want to be represented by a union. I don't know if you want to jump in.
Go ahead, Your Honor.
Okay. And two, resolve unfair labor practice complaints by employers and labor organizations. And I feel with this Growan case, I feel like you're not meeting number one duty. And because of that, even though I've supported you in the past, I think you had unanimous support in the Senate, as a matter of fact, I cannot support you today. So thank you.
La cosa es que como representante o como integrante de la Junta de Relaciones Laborales Agrícolas, esta Junta tiene dos obligaciones principales. La primera es la de administrar de manera apropiada y justa las elecciones y para que los trabajadores puedan decidir libremente si quieren o no estar representados por algún sindicato. La segunda obligación de la Junta es la de decidir si hay quejas o demandas por alguna práctica laboral injusta realizada ya sea por patrones, o sea, por las empresas o por algún sindicato. Y yo considero que usted no está cumpliendo con esta obligación número uno de este organismo que es la Junta Laboral, así que yo no puedo darle mi aprobación para su reelección.
Thank you. I would just, for the record, say this has been difficult. This is not the first appointment that we've had to consider as this court case and this decision has been considered. It's very difficult for me, as I'm sure it is all of my colleagues, regardless of how they vote on a particular confirmation, to see really a situation where there is worker against worker.
A mí realmente os quiero hacer un comentario general. Para mí resulta muy difícil y creo que es igualmente difícil para todos mis colegas aquí presentes el tener que enfrentar una situación como esta. No es la primera vez que tenemos que estudiar un nombramiento o una reelección y no es la primera vez tampoco que hay un caso judicial o una causa judicial pendiente, pero en este caso realmente lo que me parece más difícil es que es una situación en la que hay un pique o se contrapone un trabajador contra otro trabajador.
I value your work and your voice.
Valoro su trabajo y su voz, su opinión.
My responsibility as a member of the Rules Committee is to look at a nominee in total. And as I look at the situation today, I believe that this conferee nominated person is in the position to be re-supported. I support her nomination. I understand the difficult position that you are in, and I can't make a determination based on one case when I look at the total of the work that has been done by the board. I certainly hope for a very quick resolution to this lawsuit because I don't think it is in the best interest as it lingers for any of the workers, whether they work with this employer or in other places of employment. So it is my hope that this will be resolved sooner. You've waited a long time for resolution. Today, if there is a motion, I will support Ms. Rivera-Hernandez, and just needed to explain the position of this body as we consider an appointment and a nominee from the governor's office. I will let the translator, and then I will see if there is a motion.
Bien, es mi responsabilidad, como lo es el Comité de Reglas y Procedimientos, de tomar una decisión en cuanto a las personas nombradas para ser electas o reelectas a un cargo determinado. Y en este caso yo voy a ratificar a la nominada y sé que es una situación muy difícil y también quiero explicarles mi decisión. Una decisión para ratificar el nombramiento de una persona propuesta por el gobernador se decide no solamente basándose en un solo caso, sino en la totalidad de las circunstancias, en la totalidad de las actividades de una persona o de un candidato. Y yo sé que esto es difícil para ustedes porque ha sido una situación muy prolongada. Espero que esta situación, este litigio, se resuelva lo antes posible porque no está en el interés de los trabajadores de que esto se prolongue, que se alargue. Ustedes ya han esperado mucho tiempo y espero que realmente se resuelva lo antes posible. Así que en mi calidad de presidenta interina de este comité, yo ratifico y apoyo la nominación de la señora Rivera-Hernández, pero sí quería yo explicar la postura y las razones que tiene este comité.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. With that, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion by Senator Monning, Senators Berryhill, Monning, Monning aye, Roth, Roth aye, Canella,
No.
Canella no, Atkins,
Aye.
Atkins aye.
Ms. Rivera-Hernandez, you have been reconfirmed. Congratulations. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the Wednesday, June 20th meeting of the Rules Committee. Thank you, and we will go into